parameters, okay? They're a key part of analytics and making things contextual so that people can actually draw what they need and that the audience that your report content goes to could be much wider. If we get this right, we can make content amazing and perfect. So I thought, right, let's have a look and see what we used to do, okay, and what kind of was the only option we had before kind of 3 years ago when something went into preview. And it's now coming to general release, which is awesome. You know, just in time for Power BI being 10, we've got a nice new feature come through. So I thought, let's have a look at the old school way of doing it, and then let's replicate that in the new, and then let's see what else we can do in the new as well. Yeah? Champion. So here we are, okay, our beautiful parkrun report, okay. And what I've got here is we've got looking at Carlisle Park, okay, which is 15 miles outside of Newcastle, one of the ones in Northumberland. Let's have a look at that and see where we go. And what we've got here at the top of the page, let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, not quite at the top, is it? Down here, let's see if we do this, and if is it shift, or is it control? Shift will do. It's control to square it. You can see, right, we've got this age grade versus volunteers. Now the age grade and volunteers is kind of to do with like the coloring, but also what goes into it, okay, in terms of the content of the visual. So age grade is actually taking the registered finishers as the Y, and then for the legend, it's based on the age grade percentage. Likewise for volunteers. So we've got two things going on one selection. And this is really why we needed to do things a bit differently. This is why we used the old-fashioned disconnected tables method for this. Okay, so disconnected tables, what we've got is we've got a little table here where it's got a description and an ID. Okay, that's all we've got. Okay? And if we then go and we have a look and see, well, what does that table look like? The table, there's 3 options. And you'll say, well, there's only 2 that you're displaying. We are displaying 2. The third of participation, as we expanded out and used multiple events, it just became really slow. And it's one of those ones that's been on my list to go through and review. Because what we're looking to do is go up to this point. How many events has each participant done to then get the average event count for each person? Yeah, and it's a slow one. So I need to kind of work out the best way to do it and optimize it. It was always slow. And as I say, once we expanded to multiple events, it just became super slow, and I just dropped it and thought we'll revisit. Okay, there's a whole discussion that we had around this in terms of technical debt and things like that, but you guys can have that discussion in the comments down below if you want. I'm happy to answer any questions about it. Okay, the key thing is though that by having these in an ID, it allows us to pick some entities out or some information out. So what you can see here is we've got, for the y-axis, we've got this summary chart. And then if we look at the legend here, and it is columns, colors. See, it's event state. Okay. So we've got a few measures on this. In fact, we've got 3 measures that are all referencing our disconnected table. So let's look at the first one. Okay, so this is the one that's going to actually produce the y-axis. And we can see, so we're going, let's pick the selected value for ID. And if there's not one selected, pick 1. So we've always got a value. We could have said pick 0 and have a 0 as a blank, or, you know, an option if there's no true. Lots of things available for you. I've chosen, so if there's nothing selected, it will pick registered finishers. Okay. This is going to go through selection 1, registered finishers. If it equals, I tell you what, let's split this up because that's probably part of the problem. Get shouted at by Marco and Alberto for not doing it properly. You can see there's no third option or final option, so we kind of switch through. Okay, so that's pretty simple how that works. A switch statement that does it, but this format, this layout will work for multiple things. So we've also got it used for our subtitle. So if we have a look here, the subtitle that we've got, again, selection 1, that, selection 2, just do a shift out there just to make sure it's definitely going to be on a new line. Shift out here. Yeah. So we've got this. So we can kind of describing what it is, and then what goes into the legend color scheme. And you can see that's this bit here, registered finishes by average age grade. So we can, right? So we've got that logic. And then finally, the last one we've got is this event state. Okay, and it's kind of one of the later ones. Probably should have made this summary event state. You can see there's a few things that go on with it. We've got legends value, which is in terms of I've got a color status legend that you can put in colors and values to. Again, that makes it possible for us to put different things in different areas. We can then go through and do lots of things. There's tons more we could do with it. It's all based on it being a nice disconnected table, which is a lot more than you can do with what's coming out with the new side. Okay, so that's our disconnected table structure that we've got. So we've got a nice simple table, or simple appearing table, that actually, let's go back here. Can't zoom in on these, can you? Yeah. And in theory, we could add more to this or less to it. But what we're talking about now is the simpler way of doing it, or the simpler structures that are available to you. Okay. So if we come here and we look and we do say our registered finishers, and then we do date, yeah, for calendar date, right? And we can see this is Parkrun's performance across our event space that we've got now across the Northeast over that time. And we can then say, well, let's do the sensible thing and let's bring in registered finishers as an overall. Where has it put that? And we can see clearly year over year progression of it. So we've now got something that is going to tell us what's going on with it. Okay. And well, that's great in terms of our raw numbers, but what about our raw numbers? This is registered finishes. What about actual line crosses that we had as well? What about if we said, well, is there a way we can get age grade across that, average age grades across this period? All these things that we'd like potentially want to do. So if, for example, we drag this down to here and I do a Control C and a Control V on it, put one here, we can then say average age grade. Okay, so we can drop that on there, get rid of that, average age grade. So it works with those axes. That will work. So the sensible thing when we say, well, how can we manage that and set that up to be something that's user controllable that's kind of where we're getting to. So what's been available for the last 3 years is these user parameters, or field parameters, sorry. So field parameters. And field parameters are difficult to fully quantify. Okay, they're kind of, oh yeah, okay, really easy. And then at the same time, really not easy. Okay, so we'll pick field parameters for this. Okay, and we're going to pick this as our FP DAX selection. Okay, so this is going to be our DAX selector. So what we're going to have is our registered finishers. Okay, and we can have our all finishers. We could have filtered ones on here as well. So let's put age grade in. Okay. See does average participation work? I don't know. Okay, and we'll click create. We've had the thing box ticked to create a slicer on the page for it. So we'll see what happens. Okay, gives us some code. Right, I haven't checked yet fully in the new, since it's been released in general in GA, if you can write these from scratch. It always used to be you had to initially create them, but then you could modify, so you can add or remove anything. So kind of we're up to 3 here, so I could go comma, open bracket, event count, name of, open bracket, back, is it total events? Can't remember if that's right. We'll find out, won't we? 4, close brackets. Okay, so we've kind of added one to it. We can go away and we see it works on it. And we can see we've now got, on our page, we've got slicers for here. All we really need to do then is go through and say, well, let's pick registered finishers. Let's, on the slicer settings, let's make this, fine, leave it a vertical list, and let's force a single selection on it, kind of what you need to do for these type of parameter sets that you wrote. Then we're going to go here. We can say, right, let's pick, instead of registered finishers, what we're going to do is come out of here, and you'll see we now have a new table down here. This is what I would call it. So we've got this FP DAX select. We can see we've got one option for it. And if we put it in a slicer, we get that slicer setting. If we drag it and put it on here, which is not going to let me, let's do it the other way. So let's pick that. Let's pick down here, FP DAX selection, and let's do the same here. FP DAX selection. I don't want a table, I want a chart. Is it going to work? This is where field parameters become really annoying. So we've got date, legend, it's not a legend, I want y-axis, there we go. Okay, and then for here, I'm just going to drop that in. Okay, so we can see we've got that. We can go to all finishers, a different number, average age grade, average participants, and the event count. You can see this is quick, this is easy. You could manage that yourself. In terms of practical usage of it, I have used this far too far. You can put hierarchies into this. You can do all sorts of things. I've had a field parameter set that was in excess of 1,300 measures because of the hierarchy and the structure that it was in, it actually worked really well for people. So you've got that capability there, right? And this is quick, it's easy. The other thing that you have with field parameters, and this is why it kind of is a bit, what's it doing? Do this, is if we duplicate page 6, okay? And if we, let's say, let's just do this. Let's get rid of this. Let's pick this one. And I'm going to pick event title. Tracked events, event title. I'm sure it's event title, isn't it? Tracked events title. There we go. As our legend. Okay, and you see we've got tons of these. It's ridiculous, there aren't that many. So what we're going to do is we're going to filter this page. So let's go with a nice, easy local authority for it. So we'll go pick local authority, filter on this page, and let's pick, let's say North Tyneside. It's only got 2 events. Okay. So we've got, and we can show, here we go. Here's our registered finishers for it. Okay. So our registered finishers works really well. That's perfect. It gives us it across dates. What about if we want to see, well, what about the event number? Okay, and we can do that because if we go to event, we can put on the event number, can't we? So if we come here and we put on event number instead of date, we get a different thing, because what we're actually getting now is seeing, well, how do these events stack up as they start? And the key thing to recognize here is that these are different dates. Okay, these are not going to be the same date. Okay, and I can't even show you the way that's, actually, let's remove that. Is properties, tooltips, let's turn off, let's put the default tooltip on. So Whitley Bay there, yep. Okay, let's actually put, let's see, does that report page work? Tooltip, there we go. Let's go tooltip, let's go to default tooltip, and let's put date in the tooltip. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we can see we've got January 2009. It's not going to work for us, is it? So annoying. So we can see, anyway, okay, that potentially these are going to be different dates. We know, for example, that Whitley Bay started a different time to Rising Sun. Kind of, we know that, but this is kind of letting us see over time how have they evolved differently. If we pick Newcastle, for example, we can see kind of Town Moor's going on a lot longer. Jesmond Dean, Leazes Park, and then we can see Denton Dean as like the newest one, as it were. Okay, and it's interesting, but you can kind of compare and contrast those early stages or any points throughout the life cycle of them. For trend analysis protection, there's value in them. So you might turn around and say, we would like to be able to look at either event number or date. And again, this is a parameter. So which is where it gets a bit odd. So as I come through and we say, right, let's go to modeling, go to new parameter, new field parameter. This is going to be FP X select, right? And what we're going to have here, and this is where you can get quite granular with it as well. So we can put date in, and we can put event number in. So if we go to, event number, okay, and we can say, let's create that, put a slicer on that, on the page for us. So it'll add another slicer for us. Okay, I'm just going to make that a bit smaller. I'm going to set that to be single select as well. And we can see if we have a look here, it's different. So it's got a column reference here instead of a measure. You cannot mix columns and measures is one thing that I will say. You need to be very clear about that. You can have them either for an axis or for that. But what it means here is we can say, right, for this axis, instead of it being event ID, we're going to pick FPX select, drop that on there. Okay, we've now got date, we've got event number, date, event number. So we've got the capability of quickly switching between them. And we could equally say on here, and this is another use case for these, of course. So we could turn around, say, like, comma, broken it, open brackets, month, name of, open brackets, calendar. Have I got month, year? I have got month, year. Okay, and that's going to be 2. So there's an ordinal for where they're going to appear, and close brackets on that. Okay, so it's month, year, but I've just put month. I could have put month, year. What that would allow you to do would be kind of see that monthly value. So actually what's happening month over month. And we can see kind of how they are performing. I need to look into that because it's gone, that's the problem. It's picked decided to change it. So axis, month, sort axis, month, sort ascending. There we go. Month, year is not sorting properly. I need to go to here and to calendar. So we've got month, year, which is here. And what we need to do is sort it by our month offset. So we go to here and we're going to say sort by columns, month offset. And if we come back now, see, we get the right thing. So we've got this kind of monthly period where we can see January, February, March, across here 2015. Okay, we can go through, we can kind of build these areas up. These as part. February was off. So we've got this ability, so we can change granularity, we can change the whole way that axis is working, and we could then choose to say, well, let's look at the average age grade, look at average participation by event. That's, again, over the month. Okay, we could choose to put in here as well, so we could go back to our DAX statement here. This is why I put month, as we could then go open brackets, year, comma, name of, yeah, comma 3. Okay. So we've gone through, we can now, as I say, we can pick year. We've got the average participation year over year. We could look at the average age grade year over year. It's all there with 2 slices that we can pick. So we can kind of build quite an interesting tool that allows our customer base or our community to actually access and explore and get a lot of insights out. And then depending on how you build things like your tooltips, your drill through capabilities, all those things, you can find you can get an awful lot of value out from these. Remembering, of course, that your context will flow through. So if we go through to the event summary for here, so this is pick Leisure Park, it's filtered down to that period. Okay, we can go back. to the page. Now it's gone back to this page because, of course, it's hard-coded. We can see, so if we went to here, start of Dent and Dean, for example, and let me do it. Dent, perfect. So we've got the first year for Dent and Dean. So we've kind of got something that's going to work very well for us, very quickly, very easily, with a couple of field parameters. And of course, you can see, because I can edit the DAX, I can change what it is. Okay, so I've put FP select because it's field parameter X select, but I could have chosen something different to call it. So we could have put selected axis, yeah, for example, and I can spell. Okay, well, tend I spelled correctly there. And then straight away you can see, so that's not picked that up. Oh, because it's the table name versus the measure name, sorry. So selected axis. Okay. And then we can put this, leave the table as FPX select. That's the way around to do it. Sorry, my bad. Silly mistake. So zoom in a bit so you can see. Yeah. So we've renamed that. You can see it does not affect the DAX that goes into it. So it's kind of still, the table name is here because this is DAX structure building a table. You can do kind of all sorts of things like adding columns and adding other things to it as well, which is where, as I say, when I've gone much more in depth, we've done more. If you want me to do more like that, leave a comment down below and we'll go through the whole, let's expand on the field parameter stuff in DAX for you. Okay. Fundamentally, though, it comes down to we add columns to it. Because it's all in DAX, you can go in and you can add columns. So you could do calculate columns if you really wanted. As I say, if you do them in here, it makes it a little bit easier. But we'll cover that another day, if you want me to. So parameters, okay? Parameters are one of those things that will allow you to explore and understand a lot more about what's going on with your models and to get a lot more out of your models than potentially you are just going to get with the basics. With the disconnected table set that we used initially, we were able to do a lot more. So we used 3 measures to get more content out of it. In terms of what we'll do with this, it's pretty similar actually. So we would go through, as I mentioned, if you leave comments down below, we can add some content on how to do this. You expand on that base table because it still uses like an ID column. So you saw the ordinals in there. We can pull that through and we can then use that to replicate and say, right, this is going to be here, this is going to be there, this is going to be there. So we could populate it with text for our selections. So for the subtitle, we could populate it with colors if we wanted. We could populate it with other things. Okay, there's kind of capabilities that you can do with it. So like a logical structuring for it. There's ways, there's means, there's all sorts there. When you start to do all that, it becomes really easy to then make it simple for your customer base to explore and to get insights out from the data sets that you've built. Okay, so they're well worth understanding and they're well worth taking the time to go in and explore. And now they're GA. I don't feel bad saying to a client, go on, use field parameters, they're really good. You know, it was always kind of a, oh gosh, well, you know, they're not GA. Is it going to be a problem? You know, when you're putting in 1300, because as I say, we had to put 1300 in because we had 1300 measures in. We couldn't use calculation groups for those people who are going to go, oh, we only use calculation groups. We could have used calculation groups, but they weren't understood by the customer base who were going in and building content, really trying to hammer the models and building their own content. Whereas putting in the field parameter set made it really easy for them to build things in Excel or in, not in Excel, sorry, because field parameters aren't compatible with Excel. Calculation groups are, field parameters aren't, but to build stuff in Excel where they wanted to, where they could say, right, this is the measure. And because it was all structured in field parameter, it made it really easy for us to actually build the documentation structure. Say, well, I want this one. What would the name be in Excel? And then they could drop it in. Okay, it was really, it gave me a big headache initially. But then once we got it working, it was fine. And the feedback from the user base was, this is really good. We can get lots of information out. We've got all the stuff out of it. was everything they wanted, kind of a whole corporate finance model distilled down into one field parameter set. So for an for a chart, in Power BI, just drop one thing in, pick a couple of slicer options or select in the filter set for that visual, and there's your content built. As I say, with this, you can do all that. And then knowing that you've got your X and your Y axis potentially controlled by your field parameter set. And now knowing as well that in theory, we can even do things like our coloring in our field parameter set. You've got something very powerful there. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay. As I say, YouTube channel, we're entirely dependent on likes and subscriptions. So please be sure to like and subscribe to the content, subscribe to the channel, and leave us a comment to let us know what you like, what you don't like. And of course, would you like to see more content on field parameters? Got lots more we can do with them, believe me. For now though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.